Hi, everyone. I am Dr. Diane Hayden, and you are listening to the Dr. Diane Show, where we explore revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul. Each time on the Dr. Diane Show, we will have experts from around the country discussing cutting-edge topics on longevity medicine, natural health, mindset, and soul purpose to help you shift your perspective and become a mindset warrior like me. I'm excited to have on the show today Jennifer Beach. She is the owner of Natural Harmony, 100% organic CBD products. Natural Harmony is a Connecticut-based company. Their all-American hemp is grown to organic standards without pesticides or fertilizers. Using a supercritical CO2 extraction process, CBD is removed from the plant material and run through third-party lab tests to ensure quality remains consistent throughout. This process ensures a superior and effective product. When Jennifer discovered CBD, she immediately found a reduction in anxiety along with improved sleep. And after finding these benefits, she decided she wanted to share them with others and created her own brand and company, Natural Harmony, in late 2021. You can learn more about her and Natural Harmony at www.naturalharmony.life. So welcome, Jennifer. Thank you so much for being with us today. How are you?
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and talking with you, Dr. Diane. Yeah, just excited to let people know the benefits of CBD and kind of how I got started and kind of go from there.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a lot of cool stuff to talk about today. I know you had mentioned that another reason why you started your company was because your mom was suffering from anxiety and chronic pain and since the loss of your stepfather, and you lost her 2 years ago. And you were saying that if you had exposed her, or if she had somehow found the benefits of CBD, it definitely would have improved her quality of life. And we hear those stories so often, which is, it's, sad. And at the same time, it inspired you to create a new company.
Yeah, it really truly did. It is difficult to see, a loved one, especially a parent, that's suffering with any of those chronic type, situations and not really able to help. I think our medical society is one that, prescribes medications and really tries to manage as best they can, but when I found CBD, it was really a different type of experience for me. From a sleep perspective, it was I fell asleep easier, and it was a more restful sleep. I didn't feel as though I had taken a sleeping pill and you wake up in the morning and you can't move.
Yeah.
Everything's kind of achy, right?
You're still asleep.
Exactly. You got to wake up your arms and your legs. And for anxiety, really the same thing. Anxiety is kind of this cloud, right, that sits over your life, and you're still getting things done. There's things that we have to do in life. But there's just kind of this cloud, right, that sits on top of you. So I've definitely felt, a different feeling when it comes to the anxiety. And specifically with my mom, as you stated, she did deal with a lot of anxiety. We used to call her the worry wart, right? Like, don't tell mom because she's going to worry about it for a week. And worrying about things that would never happen, right?
Exactly.
So it was, a pretty severe anxiety and chronic pain. She had some knee surgeries and, just a little trouble getting around. And I thought, gosh, if I had discovered CBD and the benefits of it earlier, how could I have improved the quality of her life? So that was really a motivating factor for me as well. And in fact, the logo for my company is the Celtic symbol for motherhood, right? Is at the heart of it, which is actually a heart. So it just reminds me every day that, getting out there and getting the word, and the benefit of CBD is just so important in our society, I think.
Yeah. And you wrote an awesome article for us for Natural Nutmeg in the July issue on CBD, the natural sleep remedy. And so we're going to talk about specifically how CBD is really helpful for sleep as well as anxiety and all these other issues. I think where I want to start though is I feel like there's a lot of, as common as it is now, that I still think that there is a lot of misunderstanding about what CBD is and what it does. And it's interesting that you mentioned about using it for your mom who had anxiety.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of people out there who could really benefit from it for that, for that specific purpose. However, they don't really understand how it works, especially an older population like our parents. Like, they probably are thinking of it as like, oh my God, it's pot. I'm not gonna,
Exactly.
I'm not gonna put,
Yes.
take that or put that in my body or anything like that. And it's,
Right. Right.
completely safe and completely natural and all that. So let's start with an explanation as to how CBD actually works in the human body so people can better understand what it is and what it does.
Yeah, and it's really relatively new discovery. The endocannabinoid system, right, in the body, was discovered in like just the early 90s,
Mm.
and it's a system, not unlike your respiratory system or your reproductive system. And really the purpose of the endocannabinoid system is homeostasis, right? Balance in the body. And there are hundreds of receptors, maybe even thousands, right? CB1 and CB2 are the main receptors throughout the body, and they're everywhere. They're in your nervous system, they're in your reproductive system, they're in your skin. So, combined, there's probably more receptors in the endocannabinoid system than all other systems combined, right? So that kind of gives you a reference for, really how powerful this system is. So what stimulates the receptors are cannabinoids, right? And of course, we know that there's a lot of different families of cannabis. And I think the stigma comes from cannabis has been used kind of interchangeably with marijuana,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that term, you hear cannabis and you think marijuana. Well, no, the hemp plant, which CBD is from, is also part of that family. So, for me, one of the missions of my company and my purpose is to go out and educate. If nothing else, just have people begin to understand exactly what CB is and what or CBD is and what it does. But also break down some of those stigmas, and it's funny that you say, oh, people think it's pot. I've had people say to me, oh, you sell pot oil. And I said, well,
Yep.
no, not really. I don't have a van down by the river. I'm not, that's not kind of how I operate. But there is a lot of misconception out there. So, I feel like every conversation that I have, educating folks and just beginning to break down those stigmas has been very fulfilling for me.
Right. Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
And basically the difference is that, if we think of marijuana, it's active THC, right?
sure.
Whereas CBD doesn't, and it's because it's coming from a different part of the plant, correct?
Well, so it's really a different type of plant, right? Like marijuana, the leading component is THC, right? So in the hemp plant, it's CBD. So
Mm.
both contain THC. The difference is the level. So for CBD to be legally, um, to be legal federally, it's got to be 0.3% or less, where you
Okay.
figure marijuana is probably like 14%, right? So
Gotcha.
there's a big variation in the amount of THC. So it's really the THC component that's regulated
Hmm.
and makes it federally legal or not.
Right. Right. Okay. And so basically now CBD can also come in a number of different forms, right?
That's right. Yeah. I call it, D&D, right? It's delivery and it's dosing. So there's a lot of different variations. There's tinctures, oils, there's topicals, creams, edibles, gummies. I'm actually thinking of breaking into the bath care side of it with maybe bath bombs and body butters,
Mm.
just kind of experimenting a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I have a creative energy, kind of naturally. So, I think about really how this can expand, and, it really depends on what picks up. It's trying a little bit of everything and really understanding, what people really respond to. But yeah, there's a number of different ways that CBD can either be ingested or be used topically, really depending on what you're looking to improve. I'll say that my husband has arthritis in his shoulder. and uses my cooling gel, right? It's a combination of CBD. It's a CBD isolate. There are no other hemp components in it. So it's very concentrated on CBD. It also has menthol and camphor bark in it, right? So it's that cooling kind of tingly feeling. Putting it in the refrigerator, it gives it that extra boost too. So, and then, you look at the oils or the tinctures, right? So that's something that you put a few drops or even a drop or full, depending on your dosage, right? Depending on what you're looking to accomplish. And that's a very different delivery, right? You're putting it under your tongue, it's being absorbed through your glands, and it's more of an oral as opposed to a topical. But yeah, there's a whole host of different delivery and dosage methods with CBD. And
Yeah.
it's continuing every day. It's growing.
Right, exactly. And one of the questions before we get into talking about the different, more about your article and the different things that it helps with in terms of sleep or sleep disorder, I wanted to touch on how do people know where to buy it? I mean, because
Yeah.
we talked briefly before, we started the call, and basically it was like, it's a free for all out there, and literally you can now get it at your gas station.
Absolutely. Yes.
But even like, like there's franchises out there, and it seems like everywhere you look there's CBD for sale somewhere. So
Sure.
I kind of liken it to when the supplement industry took off, and you can get your supplements at Walmart, or you
Sure.
can get your supplements from a company that either just sells to practitioners, or that is third party tested and all kinds of stuff. So how do people know where what's reputable?
Yeah, I think it's really important to do your research. As you said, you can go to a gas station and buy CBD, but it may not be the best quality. It could possibly be synthetic, maybe from another country, because there is, so very little regulation around the products right now. I would suggest whatever somebody buy, make sure that there is third-party testing. There should be certificates of analysis available. As an example, my website has the certificates for each of my products. On the bottles and labels of my products, I also have a QR code. So you can take your phone and scan it. It will bring you right to my website, right to that certificate of analysis. So those certificates will tell you what components are in your product and the levels. So it is, I think, critical to understand what you're buying. Things could be labeled CBD, and it's really just a hemp seed oil, right? They hear hemp and they think, oh, it must be CBD. You can go on Amazon, do a search for CBD, and there's all these products that are going to come up. They're not CBD, they're hemp seed oil, right? There's a slight difference, but a huge effect, right?
Right.
So the CBD comes from the whole plant, where the hemp seed oil comes really just from the flower. So maybe slight difference in the extraction process, but it is a very different result.
Right. Yep. Yeah, definitely. I mean, people have to do their research, and I think a lot of people will, our readers, for example, trust, who we have in the magazine. And I think that that's, for us, it's important to know, that it's someone who's started their own company and has done all of the, the due diligence and all that to make sure that what they're delivering is, the best possible product, for sure. So, so let's talk about specifically sleep. I think that is a huge problem for many people, getting enough sleep and dealing with sleep disorders. And luckily we almost dedicated our whole July issue to that. There's like a number of different articles on all different ways to, to help with sleep. And I think people are becoming more and more aware of how important it is. It used to be like, oh, people would brag about, only needing, 4 or 5 hours of sleep. Whereas to me, I'm like, that's crazy. I mean, I can't function if I have less than 7. And that's like, I prefer 8 or 9.
Right.
But yeah, let's talk about CBD specifically. And, how did you, you said, it sounded like you might've used it for yourself, maybe, how you discovered that it worked.
Yeah, I mean, I found almost immediately that I never ever had a problem falling asleep. I had a problem staying asleep. So if I woke up at 2:30 in the morning, I was up for the day. I really had a difficulty in going back to sleep. What I found after using CBD is that either I would not wake up at 2:30, or if I did, I could go back to sleep. I could get up, use the restroom, whatever I needed to do, come back and still be able to go back to sleep. And that happened almost immediately. And that was using a full spectrum. As I started to do more research into CBD and like, how is this working? Like, this is awesome. Like, I wanted to learn more about it. Like, how does it work? I also found out about CBN, which is a different component of the hemp plant, which is very effective for sleep and for inflammation, right? And that started to make sense to me, because as I started to think more about why is it that people aren't sleeping, well, they're probably anxious, right? I know CBD helps for anxiety and giving you that homeostasis, that more balance. The other problem is chronic pain, right? So if you've got pain, which is usually caused by inflammation, that's probably one of the culprits. That's probably something that's also keeping you asleep. You can't get comfortable, you can't stay comfortable. So in developing my sleep formula, that's exactly what I did. I combined CBD with CBN. It's a 2-to-1 ratio. So you're still getting 1,200 milligrams overall the product, but you're getting 900 milligrams of CBD and then 300 milligrams of direct CBN. So that has been wildly successful. People are really raving about it. And the way that it works is those components together, right? The CBD that is giving you kind of that overall balance, but also the CBN that's coming in and pinpointing those things maybe that are the biggest culprits for not being able to sleep or stay asleep.
So it's actually a combined product.
That's right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I should have mentioned this before. You actually have a physical location.
I do.
As well as selling online. Yep.
I do. I actually opened about 2 months ago in a cute little area here in Stonington. It's the Velvet Mill. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a very eclectic area. It is an old velvet mill.
Wow.
That has been turned into like art studios and yoga studios and wellness centers. They even have a farm to table restaurant in there, a couple little boutiques, but it's really an eclectic area. And I thought, what better place to be if,
right.
A center that's, really focused on wellness, overall wellness, meditation, yoga. So it just really felt like the right place to be. Unfortunately, it is a very weekend centric place, right? During the week, it's almost a ghost town.
Yep.
And on the weekends is where a lot of people congregate there. So I'm starting now, I'm doing Saturdays, 10 to 2. And, I've just met a ton of people, just, foot traffic walking by. There's a little farmer's market there. So folks come to the farmer's market and then kind of wander into the mill and, look around and they're like, oh, I've never been here before. This is really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. So
Yeah.
if so someone who comes into your store, basically, obviously you have to ask, they're probably coming in with a particular issue that they want to,
Right.
help. But how do you determine like what's the best product for somebody?
It's funny. It's kind of a mix, right? Some people come in and they're like, what is CBD? Like, how does this, I've heard about this. Do I need a medical card? I don't have a medical card, so for me, it's a mix of people. It's a mix of age groups too, which is really cool. We've got the older retired folks coming in. You've got your 20-year-olds. I mean, it's a mix of a lot of different people, different age groups. What I find is the ones with the most questions are the older people, the senior citizens. And, I'll just ask them, is there anything that you'd like to improve? My back, I can't, doctor's giving me stuff, or, I think I probably need surgery. Typically if it's an ailment like, a knee, a hip, you really have to attack it more than topically, you know, in my opinion. So what I will suggest to them is let's attack it from the inside and the out. Right. So I'll do, depending on how they feel about THC, you know, either we'll do a full spectrum or I'll do, you know, a CBD isolate, which is just CBD, maybe in a gummy, and have them try that. Let's see for 2 weeks how you're doing. Come back and see me, call me, email me, you know, let me know how you're doing, and we'll adjust the DD, right? The dosage and delivery, you know,
Mhm.
that's really the key. You know, there is a science to it, I think. You know, you can look at a person's body weight, you know, of course you don't want to ask that, um, you know, and, you know, base it that way. But it's really, some of it is still trial and error. You know, getting feedback from others, what worked for them. Okay, well, okay, so that's a good thing. Let's, you know, let's continue down that path with others.
Yeah, awesome. So we've talked a little bit about obviously sleep issues, anxiety,
Hmm.
and you know, some, I mean, people are probably just thinking from the perspective of a sleep issue being like insomnia, or like you said, you know, they wake up in the middle of the night and can't get back to sleep and that kind of thing. But there's other sleep disorders that it helps with as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, there are definitely. You know, insomnia is a big, it's a big umbrella, right? There's a lot of you know, um, different reasons for insomnia. You know, sometimes it is, you know, linked to trauma. You know, that's something that, you know, is probably a blended approach, right? CBD will certainly help, you know, but there could be other areas where there's additional help that's needed, you know, whether that be, you know, mental health specialists or, you know, dream therapy is another one that's huge. So it's really just understanding what it is that's ailing you, probably working with a professional to understand exactly where you are on the spectrum.
Mhm.
You know, because when I hear insomnia, I think, you know, that's a big, you know, that's a bigger nut to crack, as opposed to, you know, there's some nights I'm just not able to get to sleep, or I'm not able to stay asleep.
Right.
Yeah, so CBD definitely has benefit in aiding sleep, but, you know, just like if you have, say, a broken leg, right, you're still going to need surgery. This
Right.
can help you, right? But it may not be the cure, you know, and it,
Yep.
in some cases it is a blended approach. You know, so for chronic insomnia, you know, I think probably a professional opinion is appropriate. CBD can always help you,
Mhm.
but it may not be, you know, the end all and be all for you.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's just so many people are suffering from you know, from with that or with anxiety, especially, you
Mhm.
know, over the last couple of years. And I love the fact that there is this alternative versus having to
Yeah,
go on some site on some type of psych drug, you know, like
exactly. Yep.
definitely try this first. And I wouldn't be surprised if for most people it's what all they need.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You know, sometimes with, you know, traditional medication, it's almost like, you know, it's the cure that kills you type of thing. You know, the cure is almost worse than, you know, the what's ailing you.
Right.
But yeah, that's a fantastic point, Diane. I would definitely say, you know, try this first. You know, it's not something that's terribly invasive in your body. It can only help. You know, there haven't heard of any side effects. You know, I've been doing this for quite a while, and, you know, haven't heard of, you know, any type of side effects from taking CBD.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about what other particular issues do you find that people use it for, that, you know, are coming into your shop, or that you would
Mhm.
recommend, oh, I've worked with this particular issue. What are you finding that people should know about?
You know, I actually had a girl come into my shop a couple of weeks ago. So her husband was there getting a haircut, and then she was kind of wandering around, and she had seen a write-up that I did, you know, in my shop by various information corners, say, and one of them was on infertility, right, which
Mm,
is also an article that I wrote for Natural Nutmeg. So I had a little snippet of it from there, and she said, you know, I want to know more about this, but is this something, you know, can I take CBD when I'm trying to get pregnant? And I said, absolutely, and just went into some of the benefits of it. The whole homeostasis, if your body's in a more balanced state, you're more apt to be, in a position to be able to be, fertile and conceive. It's just kind of your body's natural way of handling things. And, she said, well, I'm going to try it. So that to me was pretty exciting. Also had a gentleman come in whose father has the OCP, I'm trying to think of what it is, the breathing.
Oh, not COPD.
COPD.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. He had just read an article about how CBD was helpful for that. And I said, that is so interesting. I said, I haven't heard that specifically, but it makes sense to me, right? Because that's an inflammation. And
Right.
if CBD can help with the inflammation, then sure, it could aid, something like that. So I think people are just curious and coming in and asking a lot of questions. I will tell you the products that I sell the most are the topicals for the aches and pains. The sleep formula, I can't keep.
Right.
I mean, as soon as I put it out, it's going. And probably the 1200 milligram full spectrum, which takes all of the benefits of the plant. There's there's probably 100 different components in the hemp plant. And, CBD is just one, the major one. But, when you combine all of those components into the plant and the product, you're getting the full effect, the full benefit.
So do you combine products? That just made me think, like, is the full spectrum something that you could just take on its own and you wouldn't need anything else? Or do you typically combine things with that? Or let's say you're not taking the full spectrum, do you have are there other situations where you combine a couple of different types of products?
Yeah, I mean, definitely for chronic pain, like I said, if people have a problem with, their hip, their elbow, their shoulder, their back, I found the best way to attack it is internally and with a topical. So in that case, I would definitely suggest that they combine products. Aside from that, the sleep formula is pretty pointed. If somebody comes in and says, I'm really having trouble sleeping, that's the first place I point them. Some folks are apprehensive to take THC, right? So THC trace amount is in all of my full spectrum products, but I also have just a CBD isolate, which is just CBD, no THC for that reason. They want the benefit of CBD, but they, for whatever reason, are not comfortable taking the THC piece of that. So it's really tailored to their need. It's what they're looking for, what they're comfortable taking, and in what dose. So, I have the 1200 milligram full spectrum, and I just introduced a 3000 milligram full spectrum. So, that's for people maybe that have been taking it for a while, looking to get to the next level. It can also be somebody that has really chronic pain. So I don't have a ton of, feedback yet on that product. It's brand new. But, I'm hoping that it will give people just that extra boost maybe, that aren't getting what they need necessarily from the 1200.
Mm-hmm. Yep. How do you decide like what you're going to formulate or what you're going to bring in next?
It's based on interest. The sleep formula was based on people coming in and saying, what do you have for sleep? And I'm like, well, the 1200, broad spectrum is kind of the overall. But how can I refine that a little bit better? Like, how can I develop a formula just for sleep? So began researching, worked with my, my folks here in Connecticut, my labeticians, I call them, and we came up with this idea. Like I said, I'm looking to probably get into the, maybe the bath and body end of it. I think it would be cool to have a bath bomb and sit in a luxurious tub for 20 minutes and get out feeling, less achy and kind of relaxed overall. Or maybe a really luxurious body butter, right? With shea butter or mango butter, or maybe both. I don't know, with that CBD in it. So, I think it's just wide open. And I'm like I said, very creative. I do a lot of reading on the product and the industry. And I think I just want to see where it goes, what interests people, what interests me, and kind of go from there. I've even been thinking, and my mind goes a million miles an hour, as you can tell. But I'm even thinking about, can I get into maybe the service industry, right? Where there's CBD massage. So you're using CBD massage oils for therapeutic massage. I know it's out there in some degree, but is that something I want to break into next?
Wow. That's exciting. Yeah. And I mean, the fact that you are, you own the business and you're the entrepreneur, you get to make those decisions. So that's really cool.
It's
really
awesome.
Cool.
It's awesome. And like I said, I work with a company that I have full, creative input. They tell me if they think it's great. They tell me if I'm like, no, I don't think
Off
we
the
can
wall.
do that. Yeah.
That's not going to work, Jen.
They don't tell me no. They're like, maybe not now.
Right.
So,
Oh my God, that's too funny.
yeah.
That's too funny.
Yeah.
Anything else that you feel that people should know that we didn't touch on?
I don't think so. I think the important thing is, obviously I stand behind my product. I use the products myself. I've gotten fabulous feedback, but, overall, just to let people know, make sure that, if you're not buying my product, just make sure that you're buying a quality product, using the, the analysis that's out there and available. Anybody should be able to point you right to their certificate of analysis and say, this is what's in my product.
Yep. Definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, this has been fascinating, and I'm sure people will be checking you out. Again, your website is www.naturalharmony.life, Life. And
That's
also
right.
people can visit you. Obviously, people can order online and connect with you that way
free
too.
Shipping.
Oh, free shipping. Awesome.
Free shipping.
Love it.
On
And
any size order.
that's awesome. That's awesome. And they can visit you in Stonington at the Velvet Mill, where your shop is as well.
That's right. 22 Bayview Avenue.
In Stonington. Yep.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. This is great. And I hope everybody has enjoyed our show. And again, you can learn more about me at www.naturalnutmeg.com or www.essentialnaples.com. And I hope, Jennifer, you have a great day, and everybody.
Thank you so much. It's been great talking with you.
Awesome.
Bye now.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.